Hi, I'm Juan Sanin from RMIT University, and I'm going to present a paper called The Non-Participatory Patient. So it's very common to think or to hear that we live in the era of participation. In the last 2 decades, the confluence of participatory mindsets and the co-creation paradigm has popularized the idea that design is a collaborative process. And this conviction has produced transitions and has created new roles for users and designers. Designers have become facilitators of design processes, and users are now seen not as passive receivers of design outcomes, but as active participants who contribute with their expertise and life experiences to create new services, products, and systems. In the context of healthcare, that it's the field where I work, this new era is sometimes defined as a new spirit of citizen engagement, public participation, and involvement of people with lived experiences in health system redesign and service improvement. Design researchers who are working in this field have come up with concepts such as the participatory patient, patient empowerment, or the patient 3.0 to explain characteristics of this new spirit. And governments around the world, including Australia, have implemented new national health standards that require hospitals to create participatory platforms to engage consumers in the design and improvement of health services. But this participatory era is not perfect, and the objective of this paper is to contribute to an ongoing discussion pointing out some tensions and paradoxes of collaborative approaches to design. So some of the main points of this discussion in the context of healthcare are these points. The first one is the scripted forms of participation and ideal ways of user engagement that have been popularized by books, journal conferences, and templates for co-design activities. Also, the use and appropriation of democratic ideas of participation to advance neoliberal agendas. Also, the corporate involvement in design research and practice. The unequal relationships of power between medical and scientific points of view of healthcare providers and the life experiences of patients. And the fact that project outcomes of participatory process might meet the expectations of participants, so the needs of those patients who participated. But those outcomes could overlook the needs of those who don't participate. And to advance the discussion about these tensions and paradoxes is that I propose the concept of the non-participatory patient. This concept can be useful to explore characteristics of those users who contradict assumptions about participation and users who don't meet the expectations of designers, service providers, and industry stakeholders. In the paper, I share two personal research experiences that I've had working with non-participatory patients. These experiences are useful to illustrate two tensions or paradoxes of this participatory era. The first paradox or the first experience that I'm going to share challenges the idea that patient participation will confirm industry and academic expectations. And it shows that non-participatory patients can in fact contradict those expectations. And the second experience that I will share makes evident that not all patients want to participate in our design projects and shows that the non-participatory patient can be creative in his or her own way and they have their own creative projects as part of their everyday life. So my first experience took place in the context of cancer care. In this context, there is a conviction that information is power, and that meeting information needs of patients will help them to play an active role in the management of their treatment, in decision making, and will help them to engage with self-care practices. And for this reason, many cancer care centers are digitalizing information and implementing digital health information systems to solve all the information needs of their users. And the objective of this project the project on which my first experience is based on was to design a health information system for cancer care. And the idea for running the project was to have different co-design activities to bring the patient voice into the project. And it was expected that this patient voice was going to not just confirm the idea of a health information system, but was also going to reveal the characteristics that the system should have. But turns out that the patient voice or the patients who participated in the project contradicted assumptions, and the research findings of those co-design activities did not meet the expected outcomes. So several patients were not interested in having more than the basic information. Other patients didn't see information as something that would empower them. And although most of the people who participated were active users of digital platforms and were owners of digital devices, they were not really interested in a healthcare information system. When these findings were presented to the project stakeholders, they felt frustrated and suspicious of these results. But instead of listening to what the patient voice have said, they decided to continue with the health information system. The second experience is about another paradox. The fact that we take most of the times for granted that people want to participate in design processes. The expression designing with people is somehow the slogan that explains how is that participation should take place. So designing with people says more or less that designers facilitate the constitution of a third space, then users come into that third space to use design techniques and design tools that help them to express their ideas in creative ways, and in that way they can contribute to the design process. And with that idea of participation in mind and inspired by the concept of designing with people, I started a project to improve the allied health services offered to inpatients of a psychiatric unit. As part of that project, I prepared co-design workshops and created tools and activities that were going to promote active participation of users. But once there, inside the psychiatric unit, I realized that people didn't want to become participants. They were interested in the idea of having a designer working with them, but didn't want to stop their routines to go to a workshop and use templates, paper prototypes, or post-its to express their creativity. Then I became aware that maybe they didn't want to do the project that was proposed to them. And they were not interested because they had their own co-creative projects as part of their everyday life. And they were already doing design in their own ways to improve not just specific services, but the whole experience of mental health care. Then, after I found out that, I became a participant in their everyday design projects. And designing not with them, but as one of them, we were able to develop interesting initiatives. So the question is, how can we account for non-participatory patients? And of course, I don't have an answer for this question. Nevertheless, I think that it's a question that invites us to acknowledge that we shouldn't talk of participation in singular, but of participations in plural. So what I want with that proposition and the objective of this paper is to create awareness in the context of design for health, but also beyond that field of the variety of forms of engagement and participation that we should be open to. And point out the need to explore ways to collaborate with those users who want to participate and express ideas in their own ways, and also find ways to collaborate with those users who decide not to participate at all. Thank you.